Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Binman and today you are tuned in for a book talk inspired makeup. So I went to my local library and I saw this cover of last October's Vogue from 2022 with Jennifer Lawrence talking about motherhood, and I thought that's the look for Bring Up the Bodies. However, it is more than just a book talk makeup look. This is a great one for an everyday smoky eye, just kind of elevating your look, and it's pretty simple because we're just layering on those shadows without really too much blending. So it's a really kind of beginner friendly smoky eye. So stay tuned. I've already washed my face and prepped my skin with skincare, so now let's get started with the tutorial. As always, I'm going to prep my face with the NARS Smudge Proof Tinted Eyeshadow Base. And I'm just going to place it on my ring finger, kind of roll the wand, and then split it between both. And you could absolutely do both fingers at the same time. And I would if it was a client, but on myself I find it a little bit easier to concentrate on one thing at a time. And then we are going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Rock and Kohl in Bedroom Black. And just tightline our eyes. It looks like Jennifer Lawrence has a pretty soft but definite line on her upper and lower lid. So we want to make sure that we enhance that with tightlining our eyes. And then I'm going to do some color correcting with the BOBBI Brown Corrector in Bisque, and just lightly tapping that underneath the eye, canceling out any blue or purple that may be peeking through. I find that sometimes my darkness shifts depending on how I'm sleeping. So don't be surprised, especially as you age, if on a daily basis your darkness kind of pops around. But just a really, really light layer with your ring finger. Your ring finger is your weakest finger. That's why we want to use it around the eyes. So we are going in with a little bit of a smoky eye, but a really, really soft one. So I am going to stop there with the complexion. However, I'm going to do my brows before we get into the eyeshadows, so I can use my angle brush for some liner as well. Going in with the same two colors as always, Sandstone and Brun, and just dipping my angle brush into both and filling in anywhere where there are gaps. Going in the same direction as the brow hair is growing naturally. And doing the same thing on the other side. You don't need to fill in where you already have hair, but you might want to fill in the skin underneath if there are any gaps. Like, I'm definitely starting to get some gaps in my brows. So I'm really focusing on those areas and then just pulling my brush through. Done. Easy peasy. All right, now we are going in with the eyeshadows. So as I'm looking at this, as I'm referencing this picture just down below, it looks like it's pretty dark around her lash line and then softens up. So let's just get a base color down. I'm actually going to go in with Sandstone on my BK Beauty 201 brush. So a little bit of Sandstone again. Just kind of fluff that around, get the brush nice and saturated. Start on the outer third, and then also working my way onto the lid. And we don't have any complexion on, so I don't need to be like really gentle or aware of fallout really, because all we have, we've just corrected the skin, that's all. And I'm just trying to get a nice soft layer of something down onto the skin so that my darker shadows have something to grip onto. We're going to kind of do like a Bobbi Brown smoky eye where we're just building darker shadow upon darker shadow rather than anything too complicated. She does have different facial features than I do, so we're going to kind of morph it a little bit to our own faces. Now I'm going to go in with the 217 into Cork. Cork is that great color. It can go warm, it can go cool, it can kind of do whatever you need it to do. And we're basically going to do the same thing, but because the 217 is a little bit more dense, it gives you a little bit more control. And then I'm just slowly kind of working that onto that outer half and also up into the crease just a little bit, because again, the darker parts of her look are definitely on the lid. So just really, really lightly blending Cork right on top of Sandstone and going just a little bit above the crease, kind of into that socket area, sweeping off any excess that I have and just softening that a little bit. Doing the same thing on the other side. Just kind of slowly building that up. And then really nice and lightly blending that onto the lid. And again, bringing that just above the crease. Taking a step back, seeing if we have any holes or any bits that need to be blended a little bit more. Now these are matte shades, so if you have older skin or like scarring or anything like that, you might want to do something in like a satin or something that's a little bit more forgiving. Charlotte Tilbury makes some excellent eyeshadows, and Lisa Eldridge just came out with some really great eyeshadows. I'm so excited to get my hands on those. I don't have any yet, but I would probably go with those companies if you are a little bit older and you feel like your eye skin is starting to kind of crepe up or just not be as conducive to matte shadows as it once was, because those shadows are going to be much nicer on your lids. So now we're going to go in with a little bit of charcoal brown, and I'm going to switch to the BK Beauty 203, which I usually do with a shimmer shadow, but again, because we're just kind of really gently building up this soft kind of smudgy smoky eye, it makes a little bit more sense to go in with a brush like this rather than anything fluffy, because we're just doing layers. And I'm just taking this all over the lid, and then we're going to go in with our liner. Okay. And the liner that I'm doing is just like, again, one step darker than all of the eyeshadows, so it makes sense. I'm going to go in with the 217 in the charcoal brown and just bring that up into the socket and make sure that everything's nice and soft, talking very nicely to each other. Sometimes I feel like if something a little bit darker stops at the lid, it doesn't create that really nice blown out smoky eye that just softens and kind of disappears on its own. So you might want to bring it up a little bit into that crease or socket area and blend it into your lighter colors, especially as your eyes start to relax after doing eyeshadow. So now let's do the liner. We are going to go in with our Sigma brush into Chocolate Shimmer by Bobbi Brown, which is just a really lovely, nice dark chocolate. And she doesn't have a wing or anything like that. So we're just going to line our eyes and make it really nice and soft. So how do we make a gel liner soft? I like to put the most impact right at the lash line, and then with the side of my brush, I'm just kind of pulling at the tops, or at the top of the liner itself, and just kind of diffusing it into the shadows. So again, getting the most impact right next to that lash line, making sure there are no gaps. And then we will go back and start to soften the top of that line a little bit. You can also soften it with a powder shadow. I do that a lot. If you feel like you're just not getting anywhere. Great. Okay, I can tell that I do have just a little bit of fallout. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my finger, make sure it's nice and clean, and I'm just going to pat it away before we put our concealer on top. It's always a good idea just to double check. All right, now we are going to go in with our complexion. So I'm going to do concealer first, the Giorgio Armani 4.5. And I'm going to use my dual fiber brush. And we spent quite a bit of time on the eyes, so now we're just going to go for it. And before I do my mascara, I'm just going to let my face start to relax a little bit, and I'm going to reevaluate if I need any extra shadow. So just kind of bouncing the brush and then pulling out the edges. And then shaking up our foundation, making sure all those pigments are evenly distributed. Going in with my 55 and doing kind of the same thing, bouncing and blending out. This is a great way to do a daytime smoky eye because you haven't used any really harsh shadows and you've done just a really nice layering technique instead of making it a little bit more showy with going lighter to darker. So it's a little bit more classic, but very, very wearable and very pretty. And as you get this technique down, you can just like whip this on pretty quickly. Okay, taking the extra that's on the back of my hand and bringing that down the neck. Not being too crazy about this, and then I see that this part of my skin is quite light, so we will definitely be bronzing down there to make sure that everything is nice and cohesive, but not so much that if we hug somebody all of a sudden all of our bronzer comes off, because nobody wants that either. Before I do powdering, I'm going to go in with a little bit of highlight because her skin looks really nice, and this is all about, you know, youthful skin, and also just this idea of like Anne Boleyn herself being such a beauty. I think that really makes sense. And then just taking any extra and putting that right under that arch. That's kind of a fun thing to do with extra stuff. Okay, now we are going to powder. And I'm going to use my precision powder brush from BK Beauty, and I'm using my Bobbi Brown pale yellow powder just really quickly because I do want to reassess, get that mascara on, and also get the lip on too. She has a subtle smoky eye, but then she also has this really nice kind of red lip that matches her dress. So we don't want to go too far, and I'm already kind of reassessing in my mind the amount of lip I want to do. So I might just do that really, really softly, or even just with the gloss. I think I'm just going to go in with the Cinnabar instead of Painterly as well. I think that'll end up being too much. So I'm going to go back into cork, and I'm just going to pull up that shadow just a little bit. And I'm going with cork because that was our in-between shade. And I can always go back to Sandstone if I want to. I'm also going to bring this on the lower lash line because she definitely has eyeshadow on her lower lash line. I'm going to swipe off any excess. So I have nothing on my brush right now, and I'm just kind of fading that away. Fading any harsh edges away. So just really gently pulling at the tops of that, and then there we go. We don't have any harsh lines. So now I feel much more ready for mascara. We're going to go in with the 3D Maximizer by DIOR. And then we'll finish with the complexion and the lip. And again, as always, when you're using the primer, I feel like you want to see a little bit of that white, but not so much that it becomes Halloween-y. And then going in with Smokey Eye Mascara from Bobbi Brown. Starting at the roots, really coating those roots. And pulling up. And dipping back in so that we get maximum impact. With eyelashes, and then doing just a really soft coat on the bottom, kind of blinking through that brush. Now we are going to finish the complexion, and I'm going to go in with my bronzer brush on the Pillow Talk blush from Charlotte Tilbury because I want it to be very, very subtle. And I find her blushes very potent, which is awesome. But I don't want this look to be about the blush. I want it to be about the eyes. So now I'm going in with my bronzer from NATASHA DENONA, and we're just adding in a really nice healthy glow. bringing it down the neck, making sure everything is talking to each other, and hitting a little bit more of that décolleté since I haven't really been outside yet. Going in with Cinnabar from Lisa Eldridge. And then I'm going to take away a little bit of that with my finger. And that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I was really inspired as soon as I saw this cover at my library from last October's Vogue with Jennifer Lawrence. As soon as I saw it, I thought, that's the cover for Bring Up the Bodies. If I was doing Anne Boleyn's makeup, I would, and like modernizing it, this is the makeup and this is the dress that I would want to put her in. So thank you again for watching. This look is not only appropriate for Bring Up the Bodies, but also for any daytime smoky eye. It's pretty quick, it's pretty easy because you're just layering in those shadows and you get a nice impact as well. And you can change out the lip color and look more spring and summer ready, or a little bit more on that kind of fall vibe as well. So thank you again for watching. I do beauty videos every Friday, fashion videos every Wednesday, and sometimes book talks as well. So hit that subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!